Welcome back to BullyBall, a San Francisco 49er podcast. Today we're diving into all the 49ers free agents, who they should bring back, who they should let walk, and who they probably can't afford to bring back, and what it's going to take for the 49ers to get back to the Super Bowl
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana. I'm about to cut.
All right, so we're coming to you guys 2 days after the Super Bowl. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes gets another one. They beat the Eagles. It was a battle, great game. And most people have been saying, like, how are the 49ers going to get better this offseason to beat the Eagles? The Eagles are going to have a lot of changes. They pretty much their whole defense, a lot of their O-line are free agents. So that team's going to be changing a lot. The team you're really chasing is the Chiefs. They beat you in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They won another Super Bowl. And the thing is, Patrick Mahomes is this generation's Tom Brady, Joe Montana, whoever your guy is, it's the legend that can win no matter the circumstance. He's this generation's guy. He lost a top 5 receiver. He probably had no top 20 receivers and no top 20 running backs on his team this year. Great O-line, probably Hall of Fame tight end, but still, that's, if you could do that with those weapons, you're going to be tough to beat. So that's who the 49ers are chasing right now. You have any quick thoughts on the Super Bowl before we dive in?
You hit it. I think it was a really good Super Bowl. Uh, um, Close game, good matchup. You also got to take in consideration that Mahomes had a high ankle sprain, and he was still able to do what he did. And he kind of re-injured it in that game, and still came out. I know a lot of people were talking shit about Debo because he was out there calling people out. Talking about the Eagles had holes here and there, and people were like, "There's no way they were the best this, best that." I think it kind of got exposed a little bit. You know, they didn't get a sack, they didn't shut it down like they thought. Andy Reid, it goes to show, like, Coach Shanahan gets a lot of praise that he's the wizard, the wizard. But I always say Andy Reid's like a wizard to me. He's one that he picked us apart. You've seen it come year in, year out. And then you've seen those plays where they were wide open walking in the end zone. So you got to give him credit, man. He outcoached that other coach. He really outcoached them, and it showed. But it was a good game. The Eagles fought good. The controversial call at the end. Hey, a penalty is a penalty. If it's Super Bowl or not a Super Bowl, it's a penalty. Every week, somebody's going to be pissed off that there was bad calls. We had it against us. They had a couple against them. I think they need to look more at the fumble on Hurts. Because that was a 6. They got 6 off that 7. So I could see their fans more complaining about that, but it all went to they wanted to throw it right away to we got screwed. Told you they were going to cheat against us. But it was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a game. Hurts had a hell of a game. I thought, all right, the big lights like this, it might be too much for him, but he showed he could ball out. I give the man credit. And like you said, the big collapse is coming for them. I think Philly had their run. That was their run right there. Not saying they can't get back there, but they're definitely not going to be the team they were this year. So for all them fans, fly, birdies, fly. I think your time's over for a minute. So get ready to see the backside of us, because we're going to be taking that over.
Yeah, and I think, you look at the 49ers and you see, I think most people look at the 49ers and they see the blueprint of how you build a Super Bowl team, right? Lately, you see the 2019 team, you see last year's team, you see this year's team, built through the trenches. and then you build off of that the other positions. And you saw that with the Eagles this year. Probably the most dominant team in a long, long time in both of the trenches on offense and defense. But the Chiefs are the team that's winning these Super Bowls. Their superstar offense and kind of a middle of the pack defense, but they have a lot of opportunistic playmakers that can make those turnovers. You know, you could drive on them, but then they get that one fumble, that one interception. I don't know. Maybe that's the blueprint to win a Super Bowl in the NFL now, but it all starts with the quarterback. And, they got the best in the business. So we're going to dive into these 49ers free agents now, who they should bring back. They have 25 free agents. Throw it up on the screen. This is on a spot track. On this website, they show the salary cap for the teams, the active contracts, free agents. Great site for like looking at who the potential free agents for your team are, or for like this year's free agency, stuff like that. But this is the site we use. So 49ers, 25 free agents this year. And we're going to talk about who we think they should bring back, who we think they should let go, who we think's not going to be back, just based on money, things like that. But as of this moment, the 49ers have about 10 million in cap space. They can restructure some contracts to grow that number. I think I saw the max number they can get to is around 51 million, but that's restructuring contracts that you don't want to restructure, because then you're going to end up like the Saints, and they're in cap hell right now, like where you're going to end up not being able to do anything a couple of years down the line. So, we're going to have a cap guy on the show at the end of this month. And he's going to dive in with us right before free agency starts. But as of right now, we're just talking about who we should bring back, who we shouldn't. So we'll start off up top. It's listed by how much money they made last year on average. So as you can see, Jimmy Ward, 9.5 million last year, and then Jimmy Garoppolo, and it goes lower and lower. So let's start Jimmy Ward. Obviously 31 and a half years old. 49ers had him playing out of position. I personally don't think they'll be able to afford to bring him back this year. And I would also let him walk. I don't think he wants to stay on the team that was playing him out of position. He spoke and he was upset about it. I don't think he's back. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think he had a good run with us. Hell of a player, played out of position, still did a good job. But I think last year, things started getting a little shaky with him, where he started talking, and then I think this time to let him go. We have guys that could replace him, and we could save that money.
Yeah, and he's a great 49er player, been here his whole career, long time. Looked like a bust when he first joined the team, and then got better and improved into probably a top 10 safety in the league. So great guy. Hate to see him go, but we just can't afford to pay him.
I hope he gets paid. Hope he gets a big contract.
Yeah, this is probably his last time to cash in. If he's going to get a multi-year deal, this is probably his last time to do it. Hopefully he gets paid. Next up, Jimmy G. He's not coming back. We'll just say it. Not coming back. Where do you think he's going to go, though? We'll say that.
Shit, that's a tough one. I think maybe one of our old coaches that left us. Maybe he ends up with the Jets or somebody. I know they were having problems with theirs. They kind of know him. There's a lot of the old coaches that still believe in him. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. He'll be able to get you some wins. I just don't think he's going to be able to win you the big game. Yeah. So definitely let him walk.
I could see the Jets, Salah has him built pretty much exact replica of the 49ers. And they were good last year. They just needed a quarterback. So I could definitely see that. Um, I saw a report saying the Bucks were looking to bring him in kind of to retool because they don't want to go into a full rebuild. I could see that as well. Um, so yeah, we'll say Jets or Bucks
Yeah.
team we think he could be on. All right, we got Samsung Ebukam. So he's still pretty young, 27.8 years of age. He made 6 million last year. I say let him walk. Decent player. He's been improving year over year. I just don't think he's that true number two edge rusher that you need. Probably gonna make around, I don't know, maybe like 8 million per year after this year. And I think that's too much. You know, he's a pretty good run defender, okay against a pass, but not he didn't do much for us this year, you know. I think you let him walk. What do you think?
I agree. Like you said, he was a good average player. He had opportunities to really get in there and take control. Being behind Bosa and when you have Bosa, you have a lot of people paying attention to him, so the other guys need to step up to help him, and he just didn't. I mean, like you said, a good player, but I think let him walk. I think we could do better.
Yeah, I think you can find a guy in free agency that will produce at least similar for a lot less than he's gonna make. So
And yeah,
let him go. Then we got Emmanuel Mosley, 26.8 years of age, coming off the torn ACL, obviously against the Panthers. Um, this is a tough one for me, if I'm being honest with you, because I want Emmanuel Mosley back, but it depends on if a team's willing to pay him a ton of money off of the ACL. Because if a team's going to pay him, 8 to 10 million per year off the ACL, you can't bring him back. You just can't afford to bring him back, um, especially with how much you're already paying Charvarius Ward. Um, I'd love to bring him back. I just don't know if a team will pay him. What do you think? You think a team's going to pay him 8 to 10 million a year? Maybe one of these coaches that left that knows him, knows how good he is of a player. What do you think?
I think that's the only way that he's going to get that money, because like you said, a lot of coaches and teams don't really know him like we do, because we watch him every week. Um, and then always coming off the injury like that, usually you want to see what they could do. But I think if one of the old coaches don't come and get him, I think we have a good chance of bringing him back, because I would like to have him back, but not for a big huge contract. We can't afford it. I think we have
So,
other holes.
according to this website, based on these players, around his age and play performance, this is what they have him calculated to make on this contract. 2 year contract, 30 million, average of almost 15 million a year. These are the comparable guys: Eli Apple, Jair Alexander. In the As you could see here, the value, salary, age when signed. Um, it looks like it's skewed a bit because Jair Alexander's on here, and that's a top five corner in the league, top 5 to 10 corner in the league. But I don't think that really is taking into um, consideration the ACL. So, like I said, this one really depends on if one of those teams is going to pay him. But I personally think he does come back to the 49ers on like a 1 to 2 year deal, maybe close to like 5 million per year. And then if he proves he can be healthy, I think then he earns that big contract. And I would definitely bring him back at that rate. What do you think?
I totally agree. Definitely bring him back, because he was balling.
Yeah.
And I think with some of these players, if they don't get a big huge deal, you know what I mean, and it's something close, or even if we're offering a little less, I think some of these guys that have been with us, will end up wanting to stay with us because, in our eyes, we're always contenders. But even on paper, we should be contenders. We should be ones in the running. I think I seen a thing yesterday. They had us ranked like power rankings for next year. I don't remember what side it was, but they had us at like number 3.
Yeah.
So I think if it's something close or they could work a deal to stay and see if we'll take care of them later. I have a good feeling that we'll have them next year.
Yeah, and like these former 49er players, Emmanuel Sanders, Quan Alexander, they all talk about loving their time with the 49ers, saying how great it was. So, I think a lot of these players know what they have when they're on the 49ers.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. So now you got Mike McGlinchey, 28.4 years of age, and he's probably going to make the most money out of all these guys. Um, and he's arguably the best right tackle on the free agent market this year. So it's kind of a down market. Um, if the 49ers sign him, that's probably it. That's going to zap up all their free money this offseason. You keep him or you let him go.
That's a tough one, because I say let him go. I think that is going to be a spot we need to work. But when he was injured, we had a couple guys step in and they did pretty well. And then I know there's a lot of rookies coming in the draft this year. He was injured a lot. We've seen a lot of plays where he was on his back. He did do good, but there was a lot of plays he didn't do as good. I think for what it's going to cost him, being like you said, that right now he's one of the best ones that'll be on the market. I think it's time to let him walk.
Yeah, so this is the uh, base value they think he would get right now. 4 year, 58 million, 14.6 million per year. Um, I was seeing that people were thinking he's probably going to get around $17 million per year. So this might even be a little low for what people actually think he's going to get paid. And I agree. It's tough because we say the 49ers need to get better in the trenches on both sides. And I don't know if you can get better than McGlinchey this year, but I think you need to at least try or wait until next year where you do have a first round pick and then you can upgrade with that pick or something like that. You know what I mean? Um, because like you said, he's a great, great run blocker, but he's not very good as a pass blocker. And you really need improvement from the pass protection more than anything. You could get a good run blocking tackle. It's hard to find a good pass blocking tackle. So I don't know. I don't know how you improve the position, but you do. I think you do need to move on for Mike McGlinchey. And it's not only because of the contract. It's because you need to try to improve that position somehow.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a big one. Next, we got Aziz Al-Shaair. And before we jump into Aziz Al-Shaair, the 49ers yesterday re-signed linebacker Marcelino McCrary Ball. He was an undrafted free agent last year. Looked great in the preseason. He was on the practice squad, I believe, for last year. And they signed him to the active 53-man roster for next year. So, I think the 49ers kind of know Aziz is gone. Whether it be the Texans, him going with D'Amico, which is what we all think is going to happen, could also be Robert Saleh that brings him in. He was with him as well. So I think that one is pretty much a guarantee that he's gone. What do you think?
I agree. Hey, the boy's going to get paid. I like him. I've liked him the last couple of years, and he deserves it. He was out there with some of the best linebackers in the game. So sometimes your name gets overshadowed, when you have Warner right there, you got Greenlaw coming. Yeah, I think we won't be able to afford him, but I'll be happy for him to get paid. I hope he gets, a good paycheck on this one.
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of people around the NFL will be shocked when he makes like, maybe 7 to 8 to 9 million per year. But I think he's probably going to make that much
Yeah.
on this contract, and he does deserve it. So Aziz Al Shair, I think especially when you see that signing of McCrary Ball, it tells you the dude's gone. So
Hey,
it
but
is what it is.
Ball showed some good high side on him too. So pretty excited to have him come in, and he was working under the guys last season. So I think we'll be all right there.
Yeah. We got our other co-host Alex jumping on here. It's tough though because realistically there isn't much of an upgrade whether it's free agent or draft. You definitely can't afford to take a step back even from McGlinchey. Agreed, but like we said, you also really can't afford to pay him because that zaps up all your money to pay anybody else to improve any other positions on the team. So, do you stick with the mediocrity of a pass blocker, even though he's a good run blocker, and then don't approve anywhere else on the team that you have holes? Or do you try, maybe bandage the situation, get like one of those 35-year-old right tackles that has one more year left in them, try to bandage it for a year, and then improve it next year? What do you do? That's a tough catch 22 situation. Marcelino looked really promising in the preseason. Dude looked very athletic. Yes, I believe he ran a faster 40 than Fred Warner. And you see Fred Warner flying around the field. So that don't show everything, but that just shows you the dude is athletically gifted. Um, and then we got the old man of the team, Robbie Gold, 40 years old. Do you bring him back? He's been pretty clutch. If you let him walk, that just opens another hole that you got to try to fill somewhere else, whether it be through the draft. You never know what you're getting with kickers either. Do you stick with what you know and have, he's going to be one of the highest paid kickers still if you do keep him? What do you do here?
This is a tough one. I think if we could get him to work a deal with us to finish out his career, because he still had the leg strength. You know what I mean? He missed a couple this year. I don't even think he missed. I remember I was at a game. He missed one. I remember watching a game. He missed one. So I know he missed a couple, but he was still real clutch. You know what I mean? We don't want to open up too many holes. And like you said, kickers are tough, man. Nowadays, you'll win or lose a game from them. Kickers are missing extra points. I think if we could get him to work us a deal, keep him, let him finish his time here, then I know he's from Chicago or whatever, and he wanted to get back. I thought he was going to retire. A lot of posts he was posting this year. He kept saying, "Oh, just soaking it all in, soaking it all in." But I think if we could work it with them and not drain the bank, we keep him.
Yeah, I agree. This is a tough one because, if Chicago comes out and they're like, hey, we'll make you the highest paid kicker for 1 year, he's gone. Like,
Yeah.
he ain't coming back. But like, even if somebody comes and pays him to be a top 3 kicker, I think he's gone. You can't pay him too much, but you do want him to come back. So if it's reasonable, I'd bring him back for a year, but that's probably about it. The leg strength is going away.
Yeah.
He is old. Um, it has to be reasonable, but I would bring him back just because you don't want to open another hole.
It's got to be the deal, the deal that he
Yeah,
wants to be with us with hopes of at least one more chance in his career to make a run at the Super Bowl.
definitely. And then we got Daniel Brunskill here, does everything on that 49ers O line. Been a backup for most of his career with us. I would love to bring him back. I think he could make a lot more money elsewhere. I think another team could see the value he brings us and pay him more than we would be willing to pay. And maybe a team even offers him a starting spot, because he could play tackle, he could play guard, he could do pretty much everything on an O line. I would love to bring him back. I just don't know if a team's going to pay him more than we can. What do you think?
I agree. If he could get a starting spot, you'd be crazy not to take it and get paid. He's 29, so he has some good time left. But I would like to have him back. Especially if we have other ones leaving, like McGlinchey goes. We have other linemen leaving. We need to we can't get too many holes in there, because that is one
Yeah.
of the things. Offense and defensive line is one of our weaknesses. So we don't want to create too many holes and not bring in too many people to fill them.
Yeah, and he's a key guy on this team, Any injury you have on the 49ers O line, he could pretty much fill it. So I'd be willing to pay him a good maybe, he made 2.4 last year, maybe 3.5, 4 million, a year. If that's enough to keep him, I'd be willing to pay it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I agree.
Um, Hassan Ridgeway, defensive tackle, 28.2 years. I would bring him back. If he faced that injury that took him out for the whole season, but our run defense looked so much better when he was active and playing. Once he got hurt and went out for the year, our run defense took a huge hit. Even though, we were still the number one run defense in the league, you could just see it on the field, that hole when, Kinlaw had to play more and Hassan Ridgeway was playing less. I would love to bring him back.
I agree. I think we could get him back for a good amount too.
Yeah, I think you could get him
Definitely.
back cheap. You could get him back very cheap. I'd bring him back, not to start, but as a depth piece on the interior. Um, Definitely bring him back.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see. Now we got Kerry Hyder, 31.8 years old. I think it's time to let him walk. You know what I mean? Like, he came back. We're expecting him to do kind of what he did the prior year before he left us for a year to Seattle. And they didn't really use him as an edge rusher. They used him inside, which is what we didn't want to see. Um, didn't have much of an impact. I say let him walk.
Yeah, I like him too. Like you said, I was hoping for him to have a good year this year, and I think it's time. It's almost 32 years old. Sometimes you got to move on from some of the guys, but I he just didn't come through like we thought. And he was out of position, but still need to get the job done. You have the
Yeah.
opportunities.
All right. We got Tyler Croft, backup tight end. 49ers have needed to upgrade their backup tight end behind Kittle for a while now. I say you let him walk. What about you?
Yeah, he's been all right. You know what I mean? Time to go.
Yeah. Mo Hurst, we thought this dude had a ton of potential. The past 2 years, he's faced season-ending injuries, hasn't played, in the regular season for the 49ers. Got to let him walk. At some point, you just can't keep bringing these guys back. And it's unfortunate because he's a player that has a ton of potential. Could end up like Jerick McKinnon, where he finally gets on the field for a team, does great. But for us, it's time to move on. You need a guy that's going to be healthy.
Yeah, and that's one thing with us is we can't be. Our team always be carrying injuries, and we get injuries, damn near every week. So we need those guys that are proven, that could show they can make it through a season. Yeah, you're gonna get bumps and bruises, but like you said, he's just injured too much.
Yeah.
Poor guy, Yeah, maybe he gets his run. I mean, look at McKinnon. We carried that bum for like 5 years or more. And then when he finally goes, but even in the Super Bowl, he had a couple good runs, but he didn't do nothing like Pacheco or, you know what I mean. Just hope for
Yeah.
the best. Hopefully, he can stay healthy for somebody.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers did bring him back, because of the potential. Maybe they saw him rehabbing, think he's ready to go finally. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought him back cheap, but personally, I just wouldn't do it. Um, Now, this is the big one. This is probably the him and Mike McGlinchey are probably the two biggest ones of the offseason for us. Tashawn Gibson. He was your starting safety last year, 32 and a half years old. He said he's probably either re-signing with the 49ers for a year or he's retiring. And he said the only reason I'd re-sign is because Hufanga's my guy. Um, I think you got to do whatever you can to get him to come back for one more year. You know, played lights out for us. And like we said, you don't want to open up too many holes that you got to replace because you don't have a ton of money and you don't have any high end draft picks, first or second round picks this year. Do whatever you can to re-sign Tashawn Gibson, even if it's at like 6-7 million for a year. You know what I mean? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you keep him. He balled out, and he had the chemistry, and what is he, 32, almost 33? So you figure, like he said, it's either us one more year or retiring. Get that deal, come up. I'm sure they treated him good, all year. So I think a player like that, when they say that, they're willing to take, a little less. They know they're not going to break the bank and try to make a run. And then he has Hufanga that he could work with another year, So then when Hufanga has the great career he's going to have, you were a big part of that. So I say,
Yeah.
yeah, we keep him.
Yeah. Like I said, you got to do whatever you can to bring him back because if you lose him and Jimmy Ward, now you got a whole nother position you got to fill, and that
Yeah,
would not be good. All right, Josh Johnson. No,
gone.
that's all
We
we're
ain't
talking
talking
about.
about. Hey, you pull a bum off the street, I don't give a damn. Poor dude, he was in the league a long ass time. All we needed was him to hand the ball off, catch the snaps. Like we only needed a little bit of things. Even though when he was in my eyes, I already knew the game was done. When Purdy went out, the game was over. Like, hey, we're faithful, hope for miracles. The Eagles were too good of a team. I already knew it was done. But I mean, you couldn't even come in and like just keep us coasting. You couldn't even get that done. It's time to go. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Like, done.
All right, we got Jordan Willis, 27.8 years old. You know, this was my guy last year. I thought he was going to have a huge year. He would get some pressure, but never anything noteworthy. He made a couple plays during the season. I'd bring him back cheap, like on the deal he was on last year, 1.1 million for a depth piece. But you know, I don't know if they let him walk. I wouldn't be too hurt. What do you think? Would you bring him
I'm
back or no?
I'm with you 100% right there. Like,
Super cheap depth piece, but nothing
yeah,
more than that. Yeah. Tabor Pepper, long snapper. Bring him back, vet minimum, whatever. That's not a position you really want to change. If it worked, it worked. You know what I mean? And he seemed like he's a cool guy. Bring back Tabor Pepper, the long snapper.
yeah,
Um, you know, that's one literally, if it's working, you never hear about him. That's a good thing.
yep,
So bring him back.
agreed.
Ross Dwelly, we already said, that tight end room needs a whole revamp behind George Kittle. So I say let him walk. What do you think?
I say I agree with you 100%. I think they'll bring him back though.
You think so?
I don't know. I think they will, but I'd say let's get a couple young guys in there. What do we have Kittle for? A couple more years.
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 at least.
We have time to get a couple more promising young guys in there and have them up to speed. I say let them walk.
Yeah. All right. Another important one here. Jake Brendel, 30.4 years of age, was on a $1 million deal last year. He was your starting center, played, above average, pretty good. Do you bring him back?
I think so. Like I said, we don't want to create more holes, and we should be able to get him at a good price. And he did pretty good. As long as it's
Yeah.
one of those spots, if you're not hearing about it, then that's a good thing, because you're not going to really hear great things even when they do great. But if you're hearing a lot about him, like if his name keeps coming up, probably coming up because he's not doing what he needs to be doing. I think if we get him, good deal, keep him.
I do think this is a position you need to upgrade this year. I said the 49ers need to get better in the trenches on both sides this year. Um, but I would bring him back if he was cheap and then see, if Jason Poe or Nick Zakel, some of those guys they had inside the organization can beat him out. And then I would also draft somebody to compete for that spot. Um, I don't really think there's any free agent you could bring in to really upgrade that position this year. So I would try to do that to upgrade it. And if he does get paid a large amount somewhere else, you let him walk. That's how I see that position this
I
year.
agree. And I would like to see Poe get a chance in there. He looked promising, up and coming. We're gonna see our boy on the field.
Yeah, so I think that's how you try to upgrade that position this year. Bring him back if it's affordable. Let him compete with the guys. Bring in a rookie. If he gets paid too much elsewhere, let him go and try to upgrade um, through the draft or whatever means you can take. Jason Verrett, 31.6 years of age. I think this is another guy, like we said with Mo Hurst, on the field, great player. He just, he can't stay on the field. And unfortunately for him, it's not even like contact injuries. It's, you know, non contact injuries that he's facing. I think he needs to just retire. And I also wouldn't bring him back. It's too many unfortunate, heartbreaking injuries for the guy. You got to let him go.
Yeah, I was a big fan too, man. He had a story. Feel bad for the dude. But like you said, he's almost 32 years old. Your body, when you get older and older, it's harder and harder to recover. And these injuries, they're not no joke. They're not like a hamstring that's aching, here and there. Like these are legit stuff. It sucks too because I like him. Maybe bring him back as a little coach.
Yeah.
They said he was good. He's a vet. He's been around the game for a while. And when he was healthy, he was he would lock up Antonio Brown. He was legit. But yeah, I think it's time we can't carry these guys, especially in those positions. If we could get a young guy in there, have him on that practice squad ready to go in a couple years, that's where we start building for the future. But I definitely like if he could come back and help coach or something like that. Yeah, but playing wise, I think it's time.
I agree. I agree with the coaching thing as well. All right, we got Demetrius Flanagan Fowles, another linebacker, young dude, 26 years of age. He's a restricted free agent. Um, I think the 49ers probably do what they did with Aziz last year. Aziz Al-Shaair was a restricted free agent. I think they put a third round tender on him, which paid him $3 million. And if a team wanted to sign him, the 49ers would get a third round pick for him last year. I think the 49ers probably do something similar with him this year to keep him around for another year. Um, so I think he will be back with the team. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Total 100% on that.
I
100%.
I do think you do see probably Houston or the Jets or somebody try to get this guy. But like I said, I think they use one of those tags where they would get a pick if they do get signed, if he does get signed by one of those teams. I think we
Well,
do see him back.
D'Amico, he's a defensive guy, man. And when those coaches leave, they know those players that are lower key, and they know what they could do. That's the only thing that's shitty. But yeah, I think we'll get him back. I think we get a deal like that with him. But he's a
Yeah,
good player.
yeah, I agree. Kevin Givens, 25.9 years of age. He flashed a lot this year. and then he started dealing with injuries, which, bless you,
Excuse me.
which kind of, you know, I think lowers the price of him. Um, I would bring him back as a depth piece. You know, he looked great when he was healthy earlier in the season. I would love to have Kevin Givens back on a cheap deal, and I think you can bring him back. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And he's 26, still, still on the younger side.
Yeah,
I
and
definitely bring him back. At the beginning, like you said, hey, he's a little baller.
yeah,
I bring him back. I think you could get him back realistically, with the price and everything. So I'd say bring him back.
yeah. When you had Kevin Givens and Hassan Ridgeway, you were missing Eric Armstead at that time, and you still looked good. Like you wanted Armstead back because he was an upgrade, but you weren't that far below the standard with those guys. So bring them back as depth pieces. And then obviously we're going to try to upgrade the other D tackle spot, whether it be through free agency or the draft. All right. Colton McKivitz, restricted free agent tackle, 26.5 years of age. So this is an interesting one. A lot of people have been saying that they think the 49ers have been grooming Colton McKivitz to be the 49ers starting right tackle this year. I don't know if that's true or not. Um, but if that is the case, you got to bring him back, obviously. What do you think?
Yeah, I've heard that too. And hopefully that is what they were doing, because one thing is Shanahan and them, that they do know how to build a team, with the younger guys coming up and learning from the other guys on the top. And they knew that the McGlinchey thing was coming up when his time was starting to run out. So hopefully that's what they were doing. And, I think you keep them, especially if that was the plan, which you should have had some plan because you knew we weren't going to have big time money.
Yeah. So if we see McGlinchey go pretty early in free agency, I think we do see Colton McKivitz signed pretty quickly as like, hey, this was maybe maybe it wasn't their plan to have him start, but maybe they I don't know. I think they know something that we don't know. Kind of like when Joe Staley was retiring and we had the Trent Williams plan in play. You know what I
Yep.
mean? They got to know something, or they're bringing McGlinchey back. Um, but hey, if Colton McKivitz is the guy and they have confidence in him, I'm happy, man. All right, we got Tavarius Moore, 26.4 years old, unrestricted free agent. Man, I thought Tavarius Moore was going to end up starting this year. He was a great young player, looked like he was ascending in the league to become a great player. And then, he had that injury last year. And, he just, I don't know if he never got a chance or he just wasn't that same guy. Um, it's unfortunate, but I think you let him walk this year. What do you think?
Yeah, he was looking real promising, you know. Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, like we said, we need the players that are going to be able to stay healthy. If you're not healthy, you're not helping us. And we see with the quarterback position how you start running out of guys and then you're panicking coming in the playoffs. We need the help to get through. I mean, you could go either way on that.
Yeah, I mean, if they sign him for like the vet minimum, be a backup, hey, whatever, I'll take it. But if he's gonna sign for anything more than that, you got to let
Yeah,
him go. Just can't afford it.
I agree.
Um, Charles O'Menahue, interesting one. Only 25 years old, young guy, was our second best pass rusher last year. Um, he's gonna get a huge payday from what he made last year. Do you try to re-sign him, even if it's at 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe even more a year?
It's tough, man. It's tough when you're talking money. It's. I mean, he did good. He did ball. You know, he balled. Hopefully he could get paid. If we don't get him at a good price, hopefully he could get paid. I mean, if we could work it, yeah, I'd bring him back. Um, like if he gets paid in one of these teams, like that might be one where he ends up on the Texans.
Yeah, it's
You
a good
know, and if he
point.
does, hey, you're good. You're glad to see those guys that we gave a chance to come up and get paid, even if it hurts us a little bit. But for them, hey, you know, if it works out that way, I'm happy for him. But I would like him back.
And the thing is with him, he's from Texas. That's why when playing the Cowboys, that was always a big game for him. Um, and we traded for him from the Texans.
Oh shit.
So uh, definitely could see him going back and getting a huge payday. I think we're not going to be able to afford him. I think he's definitely gone. Um, and there is a guy that I have been looking at to replace him. Um, in free agency, which is going to be our next video. Um, free agents that we should bring in from other teams. So I'll talk about that person on the next one. But I definitely think O'Manahue's gone. Great player for us. Going to get a huge payday
He
that we
deserves it.
can't afford. Yeah. See, Alex jumped back on. Timor definitely underperformed. I didn't even see many great stats from him on special teams. Yeah, unfortunate, man. He was on an ascension. He had that interception in the Super Bowl off Mahomes, and then he had that injury, and it hampered his career. It's unfortunate.
One like Alex just said too. He nailed that on the spot. You know, I don't. Who knows what happened or what? Like I don't know if he didn't get the chance, but even on special teams didn't do. You know, like hey, that's your chance right there to show, and then get pulled up. You know, oh, who knows, man? Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you can't make a comeback. That's what I worry with even with Purdy. You know, like the injury that he went through, is he going to be the same player? That's we don't know.
Yeah,
You know, you get pitchers that need the Tommy John surgery that were great come back, and some are better, but some ain't never the same.
yeah, and you could say the same thing about Trey Lance.
Yeah.
All these huge injuries. We'll see what happens. All right, last one we got Jawan Jennings, who is a um, exclusive restricted free agent. That pretty much almost guarantees that he's back no matter what, because the we have the only right to re-sign him if we want to. So he is going to be re-signed. Um, so yeah, he'll be back. Unless they decided to not sign him, would you do that?
No, that's my third down monster right there. All
Uh-huh.
year the boy was clutch, and if you got him the ball even more, he would have even shined more. Big body, great hands. No, he's a key part of the offense. You know, he's not the splashy name like Debo and CMC and all those, but he's a big part of what makes our offense work. You keep
Yeah,
that
and
boy.
and he's the guy that you see him on the field and he motivates everybody else because he gets those other dudes throwing punches. He gets the defense riled up. He's the one that gets everybody on your bench hyped up and ready to play. He's the dog
Yeah,
on the
he plays
offense that's full of dogs, you
well, and
know.
you figure he's the one of those players where the bully ball comes from.
Yeah.
Physical ass player right there. You keep him.
Probably the best run blocking wide receiver in the NFL too. After this year, he's going to get paid a good amount of money from some team. So you have to bring him back at least for this year.
Yep.
All right. So we've gone through all these players, who they should bring back, who they should let walk. Um, it's going to be tough to see who they decide to keep and who they don't. And we'll see, the cap situation, it's always changing. Um, but yeah, those are the players we think they should bring back. Our next video like this will be on the outside free agents we think they should sign And obviously, we're going to try to be realistic. There's going to be players that we want, but obviously they can't afford them on that video. And then we have a video coming up on Thursday. Let me try to bring it up real quick. One
You know,
second.
the good thing too, while you're pulling that up, is
Yeah.
there's a lot of players on there, and there's a lot of key players on that list, but there's not the heart of the team on that list. Like that's
Yeah.
hope right there. Hey, we realistically, and not just being a 49er fan, you see the list, you see who's still on the team, the heart's still on the team. Like we really, really, yeah, we got to figure out our quarterback situation and see who's healthy and who's going to come. But we're really legitimate, have a shot to be one of the top contenders coming through.
Yeah. We just
That's
gotta
promising.
retool, and hope our QBs get healthy and they're ready to go 100%.
Yeah.
We have a ton of draft picks, no high-end draft picks, but if you can hit on all of those draft picks in the mid to late rounds, hey, we could be good to roll into next year again. Look at Seattle last year.
Yeah.
They hit on those 2 tackles, they hit on that corner, they hit on their running back, and look, they were contending, they were back in the playoffs on a year that they were supposed to be the worst in our division. So it's crucial that we hit on these picks, even though we don't have high-end talent.
Hey, and we usually do pretty good on those picks. The undrafted players and all that. We usually that's where we shine. They find the diamonds in the rough. So that's pretty
Yeah.
exciting and promising too. Like even players already, like Armstead just posted a thing last night. Like this is where the road to Super Bowl such and such begins right now. Like players are already, when you got Debo and a lot of people were talking shit like, oh, the 49ers are whiners. Yeah, they're hurt, but I think they're hurt because they know without an injury, that's a different game. That's all we ask is like, let's go both our teams 100% and play this out and see who's the better team. When you have the guys that passionate, that's what you want. They're not just out there for a paycheck. They're out there playing with emotions. Debo's out there arguing with people on talk shows, telling them not bullshit. And they, 4 guys over there surrounding him, dogging on him, and that's what he believes. Yeah, sometimes it makes, that people could be like, oh, it makes us look bad. Hey, that's emotion right there. You got pro athletes playing with emotion, making millions. That's when they're playing for more than just that dollar.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder next year. You're going to see it early in the season. The 49ers don't play good early in the season. I expect them to be firing on all cylinders next season, early in the season, because they're all pissed off and they have something to prove.
Different
And
animals.
I saw a post of Javon Kinlaw. He's with Eric Armstead and whoever their trainer is. So hey, hopefully we see that dude come out and show us something next year as well.
Yep.
All right. So this is on Thursday, we have an interview with NFL draft sleeper Caleb Murphy. He is the NCAA all-time record holder in single season sacks. He had 24.5 sacks this past year. And he is also the Ted Hendricks Award winner, which is the nation's top defensive end in college football. And the Ted Hendricks winner last year was Aiden Hutchinson, the number 2 pick in the NFL draft last year, played for Michigan. So this dude is a D2 player. He played at D2 powerhouse Ferris State. They've won the D2 national championship 2 years in a row now. And he's been on the team the past 2 years. And he'll be in the NFL draft this year. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl, had a good week there, and he will also be at the Combine at the end of this month. So, super sleeper prospect. He holds this crazy record. And even if you only look at Division II players, The person that's second on the Division II leaderboard, I believe, it's either Elvis Doomerville or it's Matt Judon. You know, two great NFL players in their time. So, you know, it's going to be a fun one, and we're happy to have them on the show on Thursday.
Hey, that's big time, man. Thank you to Caleb coming out. You know, you and Alex will have a good interview with them. That's going to be a hell of a good one. Send me that, and I'll put it on the TikTok. You know, if you followers get on there, it's our TikTok's BullyBall, a 49ers podcast. Try to keep the name the same. Get on there and talk crap too to the other fans. You know, we're always trying to post pictures, you know, clips like this. Put it on there and I'll blast it out. You know, we're at I think almost 800 followers, and that thing's only been up for like what, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks. You know, we hopefully get a couple more viewers out of that, you know, getting a little more publicity from that. So send me that and I'll put it out there. You know, that way maybe get some more people listening. Because one thing you and your brother have always done, great interviews, man, and we have legit players. Like this first time watching the podcast, if you watch it later, you know, our commuting edition, check out those old ones, man. There's some good players on there, some legit players from some Super Bowls. You know, Poe was on there, you know, a couple guys. Check them out. The boys are bringing you guys good content.
We've done tons of good. This will be our 4th player interview. Tons of great interviews. Like you said, Jason Poe, Terrell Brown, you know, played in the Super Bowl back in the day for the 49ers, played with Colin Kaepernick and all those guys. Who's the other guy?
I just spaced it. I was thinking of it yesterday. He he was a legit baller too. He was a lineman. Bubba, if you're still out there, can't believe
Randy Cross.
Randy Cross.
Yeah, Alex did an interview with Randy Cross. You know, 3-time Super Bowl winner, Randy Cross. Great interview. He talks in depth about his time with the 49ers. It was awesome. Awesome interview. And then this one with Caleb Murphy. You know, we love these underrated guys, you know, that are trying to get their chance. And, you know, this dude going to be a great guest on the show. We love to have him. So tune into that. It's going to be great. And we're trying to set up more interviews throughout the off season. So always stay tuned with us. You got any closing remarks for this one?
Is that your guys' next podcast?
Yeah, that'll be on Thursday.
All right. You know, this is where you build teams right here. You know, a lot of people hang up football right now. They take their break, do their yard work, their little traveling, you know, but the people that stay on, keep posted. You know, the boys will give you guys good content, let you know kind of what's looking on the team, if anything's happening. But this is where it's built. These are the trenches right here in the off season. The coaches and everybody are still working, trying to figure out, you know, how can we fill in those pieces? How can they get better? The players are doing their off-site work, you know, to get stronger, faster, rehab bodies. You know, this is where it happens, you know. I'm excited. You know, we fell short. But, hey, the 49ers gave us a hell of a season. Proud of the boys, man. Like, to have the seasons we've been having, getting to those big games, we'll get over that hump. We'll get the monkey off our back.
Yes, sir. We thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Peace.